Hey y'all, welcome back to another ship post. Today we're going to be talking about Zen ban predictions. As you all know, our Lord and Savior Brian Gottlieb, he has blessed us with new wisdom today that Zen is apparently too strong in every format, and they are keenly aware. So we are now going to be discussing what they're going to do to Zen to make him not overshadow Rosetta. So this is going to be kind of just a predictions video, which again I think a lot of people are making right about now. So
It's a shit
but
post, but
it's
like
a shit post. But
we're gonna talk about some
we're
stuff.
gonna just talk about what we think is gonna happen. So we have a 3-slide presentation here, and this is the last slide of the
This is
presentation.
the third slide.
This is the third slide.
Oh
So,
boy, there's a lot of information on this slide. So
yeah.
let's start.
Let's start at the very top. So the iceberg, I guess, is meant to represent
likelihood
of being banned.
what
So,
they do.
yeah, so top of the iceberg is most likely to get banned. The bottom of the iceberg is least likely to get banned. So let's go straight into it with Mugenshi release. I think this is probably the most likely card to be banned, just because of all the Katsu collateral that's been happening.
It would certainly be the funniest possible outcome of them doing action to make it so Zen is weaker is hitting a Katsu's effect. It would make everyone really mad, and they could totally do it.
Anyways, strides. In terms of things that are likely to get banned, it's probably actually the most realistic one, just given that it literally only affects Sen. I think all of the other cards on this list, to some extent, affect other heroes for the most part.
Strides is like, I think it was the card that when Zen was originally doing the 9 bonds stupid thing, Strides is the one that I think if you took a poll of people who had placed money on the thing, they would probably put money on Strides and then have lost it when the bonds ban happened. It makes sense. It's an Art of War enabler. You know, ignore the guy in the upper right corner.
We're gonna talk about the elephant in the room.
But yeah, Strides also, and I don't think this really got brought up a lot, it allows Zen to block 7 with his armor suite, which sounds like, why does that matter? Well, it makes it so like Weakest Link and CNC, if you buff them to 7, don't do anything. It cannot disrupt him. You can just go, he'll be like, whoop, and block everything out.
The problem with, so there is one small problem with that, and that is that Breeze Rider Brutes exist, so he can still block 7 potentially.
But he's not getting a Tiger when he does that.
So the real problem is the 7-card hand.
The 7-card hand is a huge issue.
Yeah.
So like, you know, I think the Strides discourse was done to death last time there was a huge ban. So let's Breeze Rider Boots past it, and go down to the Phi treatment.
So yeah, I think this is, given their track record, this is probably the most likely thing to actually happen to Zen. So basically they're going, I think, so what do we mean by the Phi treatment? So, I think it means that they basically do either more than one of these things, or they take too many tools away from him to the point where you just can't contend with other decks.
Yeah, Phi treatment to me indicates a deck that gets to like 900 LL points and then stagnates forever, because other numbers decks have just eclipsed him, and he keeps eating hate when some other inevitably broken thing happens that abuses some card from Arcane Rising or whatever. So I also hope that this doesn't happen to Zen, because I think the deck is really cool, and to see him stagnate the way that Phi has would actually be a disservice to the play patterns and like the strategy involved in this honestly really cool deck. Which, you know, I'm sure people hate to hear, but it is cool.
I do think that Zen play is really cool. The problem are just the numbers, I think, is what people are most frustrated with.
I think it was like you and our friend were like, yeah, if everything in Zen did exactly 1 less damage, it'd probably be fine.
Yeah. I kind of largely stand by that. Like, a lot of the cards that are like printed, like Chase the Tail, like being a 1 for 7 as opposed to 1 for 6. I don't know. I feel like there are like rooms to tweak the numbers there, so they're a little bit more fair. But again, you can't imprint cards. So
well, let's get to the juicy stuff. Let's get to the part that hit the Titanic, which is like beneath the waterline, things that are very unlikely, or I think unlikely to happen at this point. So the first thing we got is Ancestral Harmony, which to me is like, this is a card that I don't think it's likely it's going to happen, but I could see it.
It's just a blue Transcend starter that's also an Anthem, which is really gross. It also like multiplies with Art of Wars.
Yeah, you call it like half an Art of War.
I like to treat it as generally about half an Art of War.
It's like its honest biggest two benefits are being blue,
and it also has like a really random RNG upside that can be frustrating to people.
Its floor is like fantastic though. It doesn't matter if it doesn't hit. I remember when this was spoiled for heavy hitters, I was just like, I'm so sick of playing against Katsu. But yeah, like I could see them taking action and removing Ancestral Harmony with the logic less being the random banish and more being, it's a really good Transcend starter. It enables an extra resource with Kasaya out. It's a 0 cost. It's another Anthem effect for combo cards, etc., etc., etc. I don't necessarily think it's going to be what gets banned. It seems like there's lower hanging fruit.
Yeah.
But like, I could see a world where come October, Ancestral Harmony is on the cards restricted or banned in CC and LL or whatever.
I can see it happening. I think this is also another funny thing that just hurts Katsu. But again, Katsu's not necessarily the most playable right now, so I guess I don't know how much it actually matters.
Katsu's just getting bullets left and right.
Yeah, it's hard to like actually hit anything in Zen that also doesn't hit something in Katsu. What do you think about restrictions? So like limiting copies of Art of War to 1.
I think it's not super likely.
Or like Harmony and Art of War being at 1 card.
So outside of LL, where I could see them doing this, in CC, I think it's unlikely that restricting cards is what happens. It seems like it's weird because it's like that's like the sort of realm of like, well, we want this card to be playable, and if there's a format for that, it's LL, right? CC doesn't have to be that format, so I think if they're at the point where they're restricting cards, which I mean, I guess they kind of did with Bonds a little bit,
partially did it.
If they're at the point where they're like actually restricting cards in Classic Constructed,
then it kind of just becomes LL.
We're also missing the point of what's going on. Like,
right.
It's like we're really trying to just keep this thing around, and like it's just shambling around like a husk. Because we're not addressing the problems that need to be addressed in a way that is like normal and what you should actually do. So I don't see it happening. I'd be shocked if it was CC. If this was about LL, like I think that's very likely what's going to happen.
Yeah.
I don't know what they do. Maybe restrict Bonds there. Maybe restrict Art of War. Who knows? But
I don't think they can safely restrict Bonds. I don't know.
But then we've got just let him LOL, which is very unlikely.
I think it's pretty unlikely given, this statement.
Yeah, like if that's where we're at, then like, oh my god.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
I don't this is like a little tangent, but I don't think LL is or should be a way to balance the game. Like I think it should be a way to balance the game in the sense that like it's good that heroes eventually retire and the metagame changes. I don't think it should be like oops, we made this too strong.
Made it too strong.
Well, don't worry. The problem is self-correcting and it will be gone soon. I hope you're all having fun at the tournament. That's really bad.
Right.
Lexi kind of had that a little bit.
She did, and I don't know if they want to do the same thing.
Yeah, I don't think they should have done it for Lexi. Maybe other people have opinions on that, but it felt a little bit like they were like, let's just get rid of Arya and start over.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hope that doesn't happen to Zen.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's dumb.
Terrible. Next on the list we have Orion. I think this is actually like pretty unlikely, just given that a lot of Zen decks aren't even running Orion. But does like kind of fit into like just powerful cards that Zen can run that snowball really bad.
I think it's unlikely.
I think it's pretty. It might even be farther down than that. But like, I guess Orihone is kind of a Zen only card, so I guess that brings it up a little bit.
It's misidentifying the problem if you're targeting Orihone. It's not like that's not the reason Zen is oppressive for people. Even though I do want to point this out, Zen is not as dominant as Lexi was.
Yeah, that's true.
But he is too strong.
Probably.
So let's get to the part where there's like real contention. So
levels, I think, is super. I think it actually might be lower on the tip, but it is a very strong card, and Zen probably uses it the best. Well, okay, I think New actually uses it really well, but
I think levels should have never been printed.
Probably shouldn't have ever been printed. I think it's too easy to get all of them. Like, it's too easy to activate 2 modes, and then it's also somewhat easy to get all 3 modes as well. So, like, I don't know.
It's so levels to me is like it's extremely high value for and the play pattern it presents is interesting once.
Yeah.
Of play this, pitch a blue, hold priority, play a transcendent card, go and activate your hero. Then now you choose draw a card, go again, or buff go again. Really, it just depends. But if you're choosing draw a card, go again, and you're making a resource from Kaseya, and you're getting
a 0 for 3 go again, draw a card.
Yeah, which is like I think like Tao Chu in a video put it like it's like that's like on par with Belittle, except Levels is a blue 3 block.
Yeah.
Levels is like a bonkers push card.
The only problem with banning Levels from Zen is that like it would hurt other MST heroes, which I don't think they're crazy about doing.
But you know what?
All the other
fuck them.
Yeah,
seriously. Yeah. Like this, neither of them should have access to Levels of Enlightenment either. It's
kind of fair.
Too good in New. It's really good in Enigma.
I don't think it's that good in Enigma.
It's still really good in Enigma.
It's fine. It's like
I think
okay.
It's great in Enigma. I mean, it's like it's just like
a generically good card.
A generically good card. It's a way to enable Transcend.
That's fair.
It's also really stupid because one of the misfill heroes you have to board it out into. Like that's how good the card is that you actively want to remove it when you play against one of the other misfill hero so that she doesn't have 6 of these things.
Yeah.
I hate this card. Like in terms of like how good it is. I think it does way too many things. It's completely trivial to get multiple modes on this.
Yep.
And the play pattern is like exactly the same with this card every single time you play it.
Yeah, pretty much.
I don't think it's the main reason to me it's so low is it doesn't actually solve the problems inherent in Zen.
It's kind of just more value, basically.
Yeah, but I do think that Levels of Enlightenment is just a way too push card for what it is.
Let's move on from Levels.
Yeah.
So no changes. What do you think about that? Given this, I don't think no changes very much.
If they're like no changes, that's right up there with just let them out.
Oh yeah, I guess it's the same ballpark.
It's very similar, but like no changes and just saying like actually it's fine and you're the ones who are wrong. Given the tweet, given just the general discourse around the hero at this point, I have to imagine something happens in October to Zen.
Pretty likely.
Like, it's in. I mean, if he's still around in Blitz, who knows?
Right.
Probably won't be. But
yeah, Blitz is a whole other problem.
What if we just stopped caring about Blitz?
Yeah.
It's a weird format full of weird.
Blitz is a dumb format.
Dumb format. It's not too fast. Too fast. I don't get it.
Hero specific bans. So like this would be like banning bonds from Zen specifically, and then like not even just bonds, just like any of the cards, like making maybe Harmony like a Katsu card, or like what do you think about that?
It's interesting that like
it's interesting that bonds wasn't printed as a spec.
Well, so hero specific bans is weird. Not to like go on a huge tangent, but this like it reminds me a lot of when people talk about commander specific bans in Magic the Gathering.
Yeah.
And the reasoning given behind the people who make the ban list for commander in Magic the Gathering is that having specific to deck bans on cards is confusing for people who aren't checking the ban list extensively. So I think that there is merit in this can just be confusing. Fab, however, has a much smaller card pool of heroes than Magic does of things that are legal in Commander.
Yeah.
So it could work, but it's also a weird thing to do. If they did it, I would be genuinely surprised. To me, I think I put it on the level of like banning just yellow and blue bonds, which means like it could happen. I'd be surprised if it does happen. I do think it's within the realm of possibility that this happens, but like I think it's a thing of like, do they want to just do they want to like make Katsu good again? I guess is what the general thing is with this, because if they're like, we're gonna change it so that specifically Zen can't use these cards, and then we're gonna unban bonds for Katsu, then it's like, sure, I guess, but
it gets kind of confusing.
It gets confusing and it gets a little bit weird. And if you're a new player and you're like, I really want to build this, and then you go and look at the ban list, and then you're like, I don't understand what is going on with this. I don't think it's going to happen. If it happens, I'd be genuinely surprised. I still think this is within the realm of things that could happen.
That's fair. 1 to 2 cheat cards. I don't think this is super likely at all, just because I think that they like, I don't know, it seems unlikely to me, just because of, first of all, like the marble treatments that people have like bought into, and second of all, like, how do you like restrict the amount of cheat? Do you get to like pick 7, and like you can't run 2 of them or something, or is it like you have to ban specific ones? I don't know, because the chi aren't really the problem. It's kind of the number of chi.
Yeah. So the reason I put 1 to 2 chi cards, or I requested 1 to 2 chi cards on this, is I think having 7 chi would actually mean the deck gets a little less consistent in terms of what it can do.
Yeah.
But still,
which I agree with. I think they probably should have printed 1 to 2 less chi to begin with.
You running 9 chi. If you want to not count the Sacred Art, then 8.
Sacred Art is a chi.
It's a chi. So like 9 is nearly a sixth of the deck, which I can't do the math in my head in terms of how likely it is you're going to see a chi like at a certain point in the game.
Yeah.
But the fact that Zen is running 9 of them should tell you like, like the game plan is centered around getting one of these things into the deck as soon as you possibly can.
And then just pop Traverse as soon as possible.
So having 2 fewer ones means it's even less than a sixth of the deck.
I don't think that the chi. So here's like a design critique of the chi cards. I don't think that there's actually anything inherently wrong with the number of chi, but I feel like they're too easy to activate in a way. I feel like it should have been like almost like a sub game where you're trying to figure out a way to flip the chi. Like maybe there's like a weird condition on it, like you can only flip it on like a 3 power attack or something like that.
If they were like, Tegan, you for some reason get to choose that we're gonna ask 2 chi cards from the game. Yeah. Which ones do you want to do? I would do Rising Sun, Setting Moon, and Preserve Tradition.
Interesting.
Because Rising Sun, Setting Moon allows you to do the frankly nasty trick of double transcend.
It's true.
Bottom the chi, block with Traverse, go get said chi.
It's pretty nasty. I've done that a lot of times before too.
It's also an effect that's like good.
Right.
It's definitely better than like Stir the Pot. Right. You don't have to have a target for it. Like the drop or grain or path or Passover.
Well, Preserve you do have to have a target.
Well, here's the reason I think Preserve probably is like too good is because you have banned 6 bonds, and what Preserve lets you do is have 4 of them.
Yeah.
So you're just making your deck more consistent by putting the thing that you want
put
most.
Bonds in your deck, right?
You have 4 bonds in your deck. So like you're skirting around that ban
Right.
basically with this other card. There is more counterplay to it, but like that card's still one of the to me one of the stronger cheat cards if we were to categorize them. Some of them are inconsequential or
Yeah.
like Stir the Pot's pretty inconsequential unless like you really need a shuffle, but Zen doesn't.
Yep.
Because Zen shuffles like anytime he does anything, he shuffles.
Right.
Uh, so if in a world where they're like, we just need to get rid of some chi, I think they could get rid of those two. The deck gets a little less consistent and loses access to two like good chi cards, so they are running a little bit more chaff. It does hit Enigma a bit. I don't think New cares about either of those.
Yeah, I don't think it's either.
Um, I don't know if Enigma cares about either of those as much. I don't play
Maybe.
Enigma. I don't know what people are doing with Enigma. I feel like every Enigma deck is different.
Yeah.
I know. I do know what they're doing. They're losing to
Yeah,
Zen.
they're losing.
They're losing to Zen.
Yeah.
But the cheat cards to me would be like I think it would be really interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think it's likely. Because it's so weird. It would be so arbitrary, and I'm sure you have a ton of people going like, "Really, this is what we're doing?"
Yeah.
But I don't know. It could be all right. Who knows?
All right, let's move on from that. What about Traverse?
Oh man. So Traverse shouldn't have been printed.
Yeah, Traverse.
Traverse should.
If you see a recurring theme with all these cards that we're talking about, a lot of these cards just shouldn't have been printed in the first place. So now we're trying to basically figure out what the lowest collateral is.
So realistically, Traverse is less likely than Kaseya, but it's higher up here because Traverse actually would solve
A lot of the
a
problem.
lot of the problem, whereas
Yeah.
Kaseya would just be a really dumb hit.
Yeah.
So Traverse, so LSS has been extremely reticent in terms of wanting to ban legendaries. I think
Yeah.
there's been two.
Like Crown.
There's been Crown of Seas.
But that was banned
currently
after everyone finished using it.
everyone finished using it, and then Storm Stritters was banned in Blitz for a while.
Is that the only two legendaries?
I think so. So they have specifically stated that they don't really want to ban legendaries if they don't have to ban legendaries. They acknowledge that they are hard to get. Like
It
they're
feels bad, obviously, if
it's
you
a
open
feel
one
yeah.
and you can't play it, right?
It's also like I don't know if they've necessarily said it. They are expensive, but it is an investment for someone to go and buy a legendary for a hero.
Right.
Like a normal traverse is $40, and I may have like a warped view on like what how expensive a card can be like actually matters, but $40 for a lot of people is a lot of money to spend on one card, and it's a card that you need for Zen. You run it; it's the best hat for Enigma. There are new builds that use it, so hitting Traverse would be pretty shitty for all three of them in terms of like just them having access to it, and it would also make a ton of people upset.
Right.
Who have a Traverse, who have an extended art Traverse, who spend a bunch of money on Traverse, and because one guy is too good with this extremely overpowered piece of equipment, they don't get access to it anymore.
Traverse would also hurt Enigma pretty bad.
It would. It would.
And
hurt
there's
it.
also some new builds that do run it, but it's not super necessary, obviously.
It's so the thing is that it is too strong.
Yeah, it's
I
too
think
strong
it's-
in Zen, I think.
I
But
think it's as strong, if not stronger, than Crown Seeds.
yeah,
It provides too much value. It blocking two on top of everything else is like insane. It it goes and gets like the best card in your deck, which is a card for Zen at least. It's a card that allows him to get any combo card from his deck, and then gives him an extra card in hand. Like it's a wildly strong card. I don't understand exactly why the numbers on the card are as pushed as they are, but like I remember when the first Zen ban happened, there was a lot of discussion about like maybe they just ban Traverse for a little bit until Zen's gone.
I thought it was pretty unlikely, just given that it's a legendary.
I don't think they should keep it banned because I don't like. I think that there's a world where it's fine, but the game's not equipped to handle Traverse at the moment. There's not enough counterplay.
Yeah.
There needs to be ice. There just needs to be ice in the format again.
Even with ice, like Zen's doing pretty well in LL.
Yeah. So like
in every format.
In every format. So I think Traverse is a large part of that. He's got the best fridge probably ever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think Traverse is gonna get it, but I think if you're like Traverse isn't a problematic card, I think you kind of like truly don't understand like how
I'm just pulling open the Zen results, by the way. So in Blitz we have 33 skirmish wins, and then in LL we have 16
Zen.
So tons of Zen. So Zen is quite dominant. But anyways, we'll go back to the presentation. So what about Descendant Gustwave in Bonds?
I think it's so.
You don't think they finish off the job?
I don't think they finish off the job because it doesn't address the real problem.
It does, I think, address a good portion of the problem, though.
It does address a good portion of the problem, but the problem still exists.
Well, what is, in your opinion, the problem?
So, okay, well, I mean, we're not going to talk about Kasaya because, it's dumb. And, like, the problem isn't, Descendant Gustwave Pawns, although those are extremely stupid cards that were created for a draft environment and to give Katsu an easy peasy combo line. And they have just kind of turned into, this is the combo line you do in Ninja. So to the extent that you don't do any of the other things that Ninja does. But I don't think that's the real problem. Let's talk about the 800-pound gorilla, I guess, in the room. And let's talk about the man in the clouds. Art of War. Art of War is a card. It's a card.
We had some disagreement on where to put Art of War. I would have put it a lot higher, and Tegan was thinking about putting it kind of at the bottom.
All right. So let's start with you. Why do you think Art of War is more likely to get banned than, say, Traverse the Universe?
I think that LSS is struggling to design around this card, is my argument. I think that they have historically banned cards that are difficult to, like, kind of constrain to, like, their design. So like they recently banned Berserk when the KO Armory deck was released, right? So I think Berserk was another one of those cards where it's like, well, we want to print Savage Sash, but Berserk exists, so it's kind of like limiting what we can kind of do with designs. So I think Art of War kind of falls into that category. That's not to say that I think that they couldn't have designed around Art of War. Specifically the whole hand tigers thing was then is a huge issue. So I don't think they fully thought through hand tigers kind of being like as good as they are. So like basically being able to banish a card that doesn't do anything to get two like real cards is like incredibly valuable instead. So I feel like they're running into issues where they are having trouble designing around it, especially for limited. So I think the reason they wanted hand tigers was so you could like arsenal a tiger was the idea. And I think they wanted to do that for like limited. But I think for constructed, that's a really big issue, is being able to like treat tiger as like a real card to banish to artwork. And I understand why they did it, like why they didn't just put it in banish and say you can like play it till your next turn or whatever. I think the reason for that is to make it like simpler and limited, and then also give you the ability to arsenal. But again, I don't like. I feel like they could have potentially designed around Art of War, but again, it is like a constraint to think about when they were designing. Like, oh, do we have to design around Art of War with all these like hand tiger cards? Like Harmony the Hunt is another one. There's also that Tiger Anthem card. I'm forgetting what it is. It's
Roar of the Tiger.
Roar of the Tiger. There's
I don't know why I remember what that card is.
Trying to think about the other cards. the ambush cards make it in Banish. I'm trying to think what else makes Tigers in
Harmony
hand?
of the Hunt.
Is it just Harmony of the Hunt?
No, what's the stupid
Oh, the
tiger form incantation?
Yeah, Tiger Form incantations also do it.
Yeah.
So, anyways, there are a lot of cards that they could have made like where it's like you can play it from Banish this turn, but they didn't choose to do that. So I don't know. I feel like they maybe could have made it significantly better to the point where like you didn't have to like worry about banishing tigers to Art of War, because I think that's like the real cost of it is that like if you didn't have to banish, or if you had to banish a real card as opposed to like a fake card in a Crouching Tiger, I think Art of War would be a lot worse. Like it would be like 8 to 10 damage worse, I think.
So okay, so like without like so like you think that because of this and because of the design constraints for Art of War, you think it's higher up on the list of this?
I think that LSS has historically been bad about designing around this card.
Okay.
And I think that there are a lot of ways that people have been historically abusing it, like Blood Debt in Chains, specifically, Blood Debt and Levy, like Slithering Shadow Pedes, whatever. There's obviously Zen. I'm trying to think if there's any other heroes that have been like. Fi. Has he really abused it as bad?
Yeah.
I mean, to some extent, I guess so.
Yeah, there's his power cards.
Sure, but so, like I feel like Fi uses it more fairly, maybe.
So okay, so I am of the opinion that Art of War is not going to get banned in October.
Sure.
And one of the problems of Flesh and Blood is going to continue to just exist forever. So to me, the reason I don't think Art of War is going to get banned, even though I think realistically Art of War probably should be banned, is it's in this really weird category of cards that I've called like Fab 1.0 generic good stuff.
Like E-Strike, CNC,
E-Strike, CNC, Art of War, Tunic, like to an extent, I guess you could even want Crown of Providence in there, even though it's not Fab 1.0. Cards that are very good staples, and you can play them anywhere.
Right.
That's like the part that to me is like, okay, you're not going to ban this.
Also, the funny thing about Art of War ban is also that it's another bullet towards Fi and Katsu.
So okay, so that's like besides the point. So them being generic is like, if you look at like some of the cards where they're like, we don't want to design around this anymore. So specifically, Awakening, Skeletta, what's that other card? Berserk, and Crown of Seeds. They're all restricted in what you can play them in. Right? They all have either a talent or a class. So you can't play Skeletta anymore, and Runeblades everywhere are sad. But it's not going to like ruin Shadowbrood's day. You wouldn't be able to play Awakening anymore, but you're not going to screw up, OG Bravo, even though, he's not in a great spot right now, but that's besides the point. Because it's an elemental card, right?
Right.
So the collateral is a lot smaller, but Art of War is generic. So when that's gone, any hero that wanted to use it is no longer able to use it, and then any hero in the future who wants to use it in CC can no longer use it. Same thing with like Tunic and CNC. I don't think LSS is necessarily ready to get rid of the Fab 1.0 generic staples. I think that they're like iconic cards. Like they are the reason that like a lot of people play specific decks. They enable decks to be competitive in the metagame. Like you'll see, you see everyone running 3 copies of CNC in so many decks because you need that effect. It's the best effect for the money, right? They're super expensive. A play set of Command and Conquer is more than I think any legendary in the game at this point. I think how much is like Art of War? Like $50, something like that. Yeah, like $150 is like that's about as much as a Balance of Justice. It's a ton of money. to all of a sudden not be able to use in Classic Constructed anymore. And I don't necessarily think I wouldn't have like said like, yeah, I think this is a thing, like a sticking point, if they didn't kind of acknowledge at one point like, we don't want to hit legendaries because they're hard for players to get. Like it's just as hard to get a playset of Art of War.
Right.
So like also Art of War does have cool play patterns, right? Banishing Slithering Shadowpede from your hand to draw 2 cards to play Slithering Shadowpede in Leviathan is cool. Banishing a Blood Debt card with Chain and then being able to play it later is cool. Honestly, like, sucks to hear this for people. Banishing Crouching Tiger, which is not a real card, to draw 2 cards in Zen is cool. It feels like you're cheating the game. It's a card that you're not supposed to use fairly. But that's the problem, right? Like, you shouldn't have cards that you're not supposed to use fairly. But I think that there's like a lot of inertia behind Art of War, and getting rid of it would mean that like so many different classes couldn't use the card anymore, like just because it's generic, that I just don't see it happening. If it happens, I would be shocked. I would like to see a world where it does happen, and they do, for instance, just for a month, like as an example of a period of time, hit all of the generic Fab 1.0 good stuff like Tunic and E-Strike and CNC, just to see how things are for a month and see if it made the format for Classic Constructed better in some way. Because, you know, it would be interesting, right? If 3 of your deck slots aren't automatically occupied by Command and Conquer with the guy pointing. Or just like, well, slap Tunic in here and call it a day. But I just can't see it happening. So I think it's lower than any of the things, just because of that inertia.
Makes sense.
So let's talk about the top 3 band.
All right, what are your top 3?
Strides.
Strides number 1.
Strides is number 1. I think Ancestral Harmony probably is number 2. And then a distant number 3. Go back on the list. A distant number 3 would be like, I guess the Chi cards maybe, or Traverse. I don't know. Like I don't have a number 3. I'm not gonna do a number 3. I don't think there's a top. I think it's these two.
These are 2 man.
There's like, because if I say number 3, then people will go like, "Oh, it's likely that this is gonna happen." And it's just like, nah, I just don't.
Well, this is like, you gotta put your reputation on the line here.
All right, then I'm gonna say 1 to 2 Chi cards, and if that happens, I'm gonna go out and buy a lottery ticket.
Okay.
Because that would be sick.
Right. I'm gonna also say Strides for number 1, because I think that it does just, you know, kind of contribute to the overall power level, and like having an extra like resource to pitch Art of War is kind of impressive. For my second pick, I'm actually going to. It's close between Art of War and Harmony. I'm going to be a Maverick here, and I'm going to say Art of War as number 2.
That'd be wild.
I think it's wild, but I think that they're probably going to run into a problem with Art. I understand why they can't, like, why they think they can't ban it, but I think Zen uses Art of War better than any other class right now. Like, Levias have been cutting it. Zens use it, and then like there's Phi, but like Phi is already just has like a whole heap of problems. Katsu also uses it, but like again, Katsu also has like a whole heap of problems. I feel like they're probably just more inclined to just like get rid of it and then print it like another Anthem at some point. Is my guess personally.
Maybe.
For my third pick, I think it's between Harmony and Descending Gust with Bonds.
I think it's Harmony.
Harmony is like, I don't know about Harmony though. Part of me almost thinks that they just finish off like, okay, so the problem with finishing off Descending Gust with Bonds is that you also just like keep shooting Katsu, right?
Beat this poor guy up mercilessly.
Yeah. Unless you do like hero specific bans. So I guess it is Harmony. I don't know. I'm gonna put Art of War above Harmony though. I think All right, I'm gonna put number 4 for me too. I'm gonna put like hero specific bans. Because I feel like it's kind of unfun for them to keep like keep killing other heroes just trying to deal with Zen. So I'm gonna say hero specific bans is my number 4.
I want a number 4.
All right, you can have a number 4.
Cool.
What's your number 4?
Somehow one of the Rosetta heroes is worse of a problem than Zen, and everyone stops talking about Zen.
Yeah, people are mad about Rosetta instead.
Yeah, that.
So this is no changes, basically.
No change. No changes. Just let him LOL.
Okay.
I don't think my 3 and 4 are so unlikely. It's gonna be Strides.
Okay. I also kind of agree it's gonna be Strides, but I'm gonna put Aurora slightly above Harmony.
It's gonna be Blood Rush Fellow.
It's gonna be Blood Rush.
It's gonna be.
I think it's gonna be Mugenshi.
It's gonna be Blaze Headlong because we hate Phi. we love Phi. Want him to
Well,
be.
anyways, we've been rambling for like 40 minutes, so I'm gonna probably cut off there. But I hope you all enjoyed our fucking
clickbait shitpost.
Clickbait shitpost, our Zen iceberg, if you will.
Tell me what you think is gonna be.
What do you think is gonna happen in the comments? Will it be Mugenshi release, or will it be
12 cassette.
12, yeah.
What you think is going to get banned instead of Art of War? Write it in the comments. Send us an email.
Yeah.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.